Contract 11 starts now.
We have spent so much time and energy jumping through all the hoops to get here.
I told the boys to be as nice and polite as possible, which basically meant don't say anything, you know?
Oh my gosh. They are giving us 4 days. It's very evident that the borders are closed. These are exceptions that they have to make, but they don't want to make them. Contract in Anchorage, Alaska was not that easy, as you saw in last week's episode. But there was still one more major hurdle that we had to cross, and that was getting across the Canadian border, which was closed and still is closed.
Yeah. We're living in the tension right now between, yes, we got to see some amazing things, and we're going to Alaska, which is open and beautiful, and we can do neat things and see neat things here, but also understanding that there are a lot of people in Canada that can't cross, want to see their family, vice versa.
Yeah, so we're not saying any of this to be political or to brag. This is just our story that we want to share with you because it was a very difficult process and very different from prior to all the COVID stuff. We also wanted to share for those of you that are still maybe going to be crossing. We've gotten a few people reaching out say they are crossing the border this summer because they're essential employees and they wanted to know what the process was, because if you have been keeping up, it actually has been pushed back even further to July 21st at this point, but every month it keeps getting pushed back, so we have no idea when the border is going to reopen.
Yep.
In half a mile, take exit 397 towards Sweetgrass.
Back in Phoenix, once the flight job kind of chapter closed and we knew that that was not the route we were going to go, we said, okay, well, we wanted to continue on, but do something big, right? If we're going to do this, we're going to travel, we're going to still do it, let's go do something big. So we said, you know what? Let's try for Alaska then.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have an essential job, you can surely cross the border, right? Right?
Makes sense.
We had no idea if that was true. So in Phoenix, we started making phone calls to you guys. We talked to border, both sides of the border, American and Canadian, multiple times throughout this whole process to make sure we had everything in order. But they said, yes, you can cross, and yes, you can bring your family, but there were some stipulations. Had to have a contract.
Absolutely had to have a contract.
Yes.
With that contract, needed to have a letter because it wasn't just me crossing, and it wasn't just one vehicle with a trailer. It was 2 vehicles, plus the entire family. So I had to have a written contract in order showing that I was there, which they even called and verified that that was legit at the border. That was part of our long stay there.
It had to specifically have all 5 of our names on there. Every person that was traveling with us had to be listed by name in this letter from the agency.
That's right. Every single person in our family over the age of 5, which was everyone, had to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours prior to crossing. COVID testing center.
You can't complain. Your sister didn't.
Yeah. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
But yeah.
How'd you do, Chloe?
That
tickles.
Did it tickle? In your nose. There you go.
Because of the 72-hour time frame, it was very hard to logistically figure that out. We wanted to be ready to cross the border as soon as we could, so we drove an hour to Great Falls, got a COVID test, went back. It expired. Then we had to drive another hour to Great Falls, get another test.
Well, it expired because we were still waiting on the contract. We thought it was going to come through, everything was in place for it, but they still hadn't sent it through, and unfortunately it came the next day.
Yeah, so we're very negative on COVID here at this point.
So we're back again for round 2. Your eyes are watering. My eyes watered too. It's like Groundhog Day here.
I still feel it.
I know. They went farther that time. Let me just make sure.
And another thing they told us was that we would need to complete the ArriveCan app within 72 hours prior to crossing. In addition to these stipulations, you can only cross into Canada from 5 different ports by land.
We chose the port of Sweetgrass, and Coots, I think is how it's pronounced in Canada, because we hadn't had any chance to explore Montana. We got lucky because that's also where we found the Jeep. If you haven't seen that episode, check it out up here.
Yes, we are not sad that we got to explore Montana for 20 days.
That's right.
If you're coming back down from Alaska, you still need a contract to get into the lower 48.
That's right.
But you can enter at any port.
So unless they open it up, by the time we're done here, we're gonna have to have a job lined up just to go back home.
Yes. This is all in addition to the normal Canadian
The normal border crossing stuff, yeah.
Which are...
Well, you gotta have passports for everyone. You don't necessarily have to have passports for the children as long as they are under the age of 16.
16. You can't have fresh fruits or vegetables on board.
No firearms.
No firearms, no
ammunition.
Alcohol. Well, you can have alcohol, but it's very limited. You can't have certain kinds of dog food. I think there's actually certain ingredients that can't be in your dog food. We just went with nothing open.
They never even searched Wendy.
No, they didn't
I thought
care
that they
about
would
that
for
at all.
sure, but they didn't.
They only cared about COVID when we crossed
and firearms.
But we did not want to take any chances whatsoever, so we were very careful about everything.
A couple other things that we had to have in order was everything for Cinder. She was going to need an updated rabies vaccine. And the little tag on the collar does not count. You have to have the actual rabies certificate.
While we were at the vet, we also made sure that we told them that we were going to Alaska, and the vet recommended some really great medications for Cinder, specifically for the mosquitoes here.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we started her, aside from the standard heartworm medication that, you know, most of your pets and dogs should be on, we started her on something else specifically for like the mosquito stuff that's oral that she takes. So all of that stuff that was just paper, I had in triplicate. And I was told that by advice from other border agents that anytime we crossed into a different province, they could ask and keep any of this paperwork. So you want to keep a hold of the original documents, but have copies already made so you can just hand to them to make it easier. So we got the contract, everything is good to go. We're heading towards the border. We stopped at the rest area just on the US side because we were waiting for one more piece of paper, and that was the thing from Atlas that said that we were traveling as a family and everyone needed to be with us.
We are at the Canadian border in Sweetgrass, Montana, and if you are wondering, there is literally nothing here. Do not plan on staying overnight here unless you're fully prepared with everything. So we wanted to maximize our travel day, and we had planned to stay here overnight and cross the border in the morning. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so we know that we'll be driving in the dark if we do cross. I went grocery shopping, but I was so scatterbrained that I forgot key ingredients, you know, so I got sandwich stuff, but not bread. I got lots of dinner things to cook, but nothing easy to cook without power, just sitting here in a rest area. So we're gonna cross. We're waiting on this letter. I'm gonna get the printer out so John can print that letter. And we're gonna go for it. And we might be driving in the dark, but our first overnight is supposed to be at a big truck stop anyway, so it's not like we're gonna be searching for a place to you know, stay.
Okay, we just got the last piece of the puzzle, and maybe we didn't even need this piece, but we did it anyway. It's a specific letter from Atlas saying that I have a contract in Anchorage. This is the start date, and these are the family members listed by name of who's going to travel with us. We're literally sitting in the outskirts of Sweetgrass, which is like 800 feet from the border, just getting everything ready. We were gonna maybe stay the night here, but I think we're gonna cross and then find someplace to stay in Calgary tonight, hopefully. We'll see.
So nervous! I don't know why, because we got everything in order. We're 6 weeks in the making of trying to get this to happen. Just want it to go off without a hitch.
Oh, no kidding.
Okay, we are all set. I've got all my paperwork for everything. I also have all the Jeep paperwork in order just in case, because we registered via mail for the state of Kansas and I don't have my plates yet. But I do have proof that I purchased it, proof that I've registered it. I have my insurance with me, all that. I don't know why. I just feel like I need to have all that in order also. So nervous. See you on the other side. We're so worked up about making sure that we had everything in order when we crossed the border that we had no clue what to expect once we crossed the border or what would happen at the border.
Yep. At the Canadian border crossing, waiting in line.
I am like literally shaking. I don't know what's wrong with me. This is a very, very intimidating process.
Imagine, if you will, for a moment, sitting at a very stressful border crossing with two very excited little munchkins who are like, but we have salad. Do we have to tell them that we have salad?
We have some wilted lettuce, and I was going to use it in a sandwich, and then I didn't because it was kind of nasty, and I forgot to throw it away at the rest stop that we were just at. And so now it's like our rule follower, and he is freaking out because we have contraband.
I think there's like an orange peel under my mattress or something. I mean, I'm like, guys, I have all the things. We're not doing anything illegally, but I don't need you to ask them 100 million questions.
Thank you very much. Oh my gosh. They are giving us 4 days.
Well, so we made it through the initial checkpoint. Now we have to go inside with everything and speak to an immigration officer to see if they're still allowing us to go through. Biggest concern at this point is that I was told 4 days to go from the Coots Sweetgrass border up to Beaver Creek, which is literally driving 12 hours a day for 4 days. And then he asked me, and this is where it gets funny, he goes, "Are these your kids?" And I said, "Yeah, do you need to see their birth certificates?" He goes, "No. Do you have custody of them?" And I said, "I'm their father." And I wasn't picking up what, because he asked me this. He's like, "But you have custody of them, right?" Yeah. And he's like, okay. I'm just, I just got to make sure that, they're yours and you have custody. Yeah. Their mom's right behind me in the vehicle behind us. Oh, their mother's with you. Okay. There's nothing to worry about. And then it hit me like, oh, yeah, I'm not trying to steal my kids and go to another country or to Alaska.
I said, wow, 4 days is really hard to cross all of that with an RV and 3 kids. And he said, well, ma'am, it's 33 hours from here to the Alaskan border, and if you drive 10-hour days and you take a little rest, you should be fine. And I was like, okay, thank you. I mean, what else can you say? But he said it very matter-of-factly, like, obviously you can make it across. It's only a 33-hour drive. I mean, come on. But now we have to go inside the immigration office and present everything again.
And they took all our documents, said go sit down for a little bit and we'll be in touch. And I could see him, dialing up the phone call. He's got the contract in his hand. I'm assuming, I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming what he's doing is actually checking to see if that job is a real job, because he was definitely looking at the contract. Then they went into the back and
didn't give
disappeared
us any information
for 3 hours.
Yeah, we sat in the waiting room
with our 3 children.
Okay, so we're still not done. We made it. We got through customs, through immigration, and now we have been given a COVID test. Even though we have COVID tests that show negative, we are required to do theirs. So we're gonna go do that right now. And we were given passes, and we have official documentation. We have to turn this in at the other border by 5:30. It's very evident that the borders are closed and these are exceptions that they have to make, but they don't want to make them. And I get it. I understand that the border's closed, and if I didn't have to drive through Canada, I wouldn't drive through Canada. But that's the only way for us to get our rig and everything to Alaska. So I'm happy that they're making exceptions. They do make it very, very difficult. It had a DMV vibe in there. It was like a hurry up and wait. And then there was a lot of like short-tempered, curt, kind of to the point, no smiles or laughing. But the guy we got in the end was really nice and straightforward and actually smiled a little bit. All right, we got to get our test done. All right, we just finished up our our COVID tests.
You did awesome, by the way. You did awesome.
She's like, I'm a pro at taking COVID tests now.
I remember thinking how interesting it was because in the United States, whenever you go get your COVID test, you know, you go through a drive-through, somebody does it, they may be wearing a mask and some gloves, and that's about it. These guys are in full like isolation gear gown, like what I wear when I'm going into a positive COVID patient's room in the ICU.
This process took a lot longer than we thought. We crossed it about 3 o'clock and it is now 7. So it took quite a while for us to get through this whole process, when I think normally crossing into Canada is usually a pretty quick, easy process. It's not right now. We are restricted to our vehicles. We are not allowed to go inside any building. Basically, we're technically quarantined as we drive through Canada. We cannot go inside a gas station. We are required to fuel at the pump. We cannot go into a grocery store, into a convenience store, into any food places. You can do like drive-through, anything that you can go to that doesn't require you to get out of the vehicle. And they made sure that they told us that if we do get outside of our vehicle or deviate from our route, that we could be arrested and deported. So we don't want that to happen. They're very strict. They are not playing around. I get it. I understand their borders are closed and this is an exception that they're making. And so we are going to respect all of the rules and regulations and hightail it to Alaska.
We're in Canada!
Yay, we made it! So, needless to say, that was all quite the doozy.
Yes.
We did make it through. It was a process, a lot longer process, and a lot more complicated process than we thought it was going to be, even with all of the preparation that we had done beforehand.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, we made it, got through, everything's running good. Now we've got 4 days.
Yeah. Join us next week for the rest of the story through Canada and finally into Alaska.
We'll see you out there.
I think our bike rack just broke. We're maybe like 40 minutes inside Canada right now. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.